Hello and welcome to In the Lab. Now today we're going to do two different things. We're going to make some pure oxygen. In fact, we're going to fill a gas jar like this with oxygen. Normally in the air you've got 20% oxygen. We're going to make sure we have 100% oxygen. And then we're going to do the second thing, an experiment where we'll put a lit splint into the oxygen just to show you how that compares to putting a splint into the air. It'll be a little bit different. First of all, we have to make the oxygen now. How are we going to do that? Well, I have a conical flask. It's got a bung and a delivery tube that will transport the gas made into this gas jar that I showed you earlier. Now, if I stick the end up underneath it, this is already full of water. That means that any gas we make is going to displace the water out of it and it will fill this particular gas jar. So this is what I'm going to do. I've got hydrogen peroxide. And we need to cause this to break down, to degrade very quickly into water and oxygen. The formula is H2O2, so it makes H2O and O2. There you go for the chemists there. Let's just pour a bit of that into here. This is the stuff that's used in hair bleach. So if you want to bleach your hair, this is far stronger than the stuff you would use at home or at the hairdressers. We need to catalyse the reaction. We need to make sure it happens faster than normal. So to do that, I'm going to put the catalyst, potassium iodide, a white powder, into it. And as soon as I've put it in, it will make oxygen, and I'm going to put the bung in. Here we go. Look at that. Straight away, we have got the level of water going down because oxygen is made and we're capturing it there. Now you can see here that it's making an awful lot of oxygen. All the water made will stay here. All the oxygen will go through the tube. If I shake it, it will go even faster. You can see the rate of bubbles has increased. Now we'll keep doing that till the whole tube is full of oxygen, and then I'm going to hand over to Mr. Thomas, who will do the experiment. I thought I'd show you what happens when the jar's actually full before we hand over to Mr. Thomas. As you can see, it's so full, oxygen's coming out the bottom. So if I pull this tube out of the way, I've now finished with this. This is actually nice and warm. It's an exothermic reaction. So it's actually producing lots of heat. It's really quite warm to hold. Not too warm, quite nice on a cold day, which it isn't today. So I'm going to stick that to the side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this gas jar very carefully. If I lift it up, the oxygen will diffuse out, air will diffuse in, so we have to trap the oxygen. This is a gas jar lid. I'm going to put it under the water and press it gently against the bottom. So now when I lift it and turn it over, I can be absolutely certain that in there, and there's a nice little seal of water. It moves around, but there's a nice seal of water keeping it still. In there we've got 100% oxygen. Now, time for the experiment.
So we have a splint that's lit, and then we have an environment of pure oxygen. Let's see what happens when we burn in an environment of pure oxygen.
We dip it right in. There we go. Did you see how bright that was as it hit the oxygen right at the bottom? 5 times brighter in theory than it should be when burning in the air, because in the air there's 20% oxygen, not 100. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you.